All India Radio. Seithikadhambam.
சமூக வலைதளங்களில் மகளிர் மற்றும் குழந்தைகள் உள்ளிட்டோரின் பாதுகாப்பு குறித்த மாநாடு புதுதில்லியில் நடைபெற்றது. இம்மாநாட்டில் கலந்து கொண்டு உரையாற்றினார் மத்திய பெண்கள் மற்றும் குழந்தைகள் மேம்பாட்டுத்துறை அமைச்சர் திருமதி ஸ்மிருதி இரானி. அவர் பேசுகையில்,
When you look at the term autonomy, does it bring with it a hazard of child safety? So I think today's platform is well serviced. If we speak the uncomfortable truth, what is the uncomfortable truth? Everything that is well-meaning was presented today by both these industrious ladies. I'm proud that India could service an emergency so well that your textiles need could be looked at in less than 24 hours, but that's what we are. When the back is to the wall, India will ensure that they have a solution. But what are the uncomfortable truths one needs to talk about today? Every safe parameter that you have drawn is not widely known. People in this room are informed, but the people at large are without the knowledge about how a tool or a device or a segment of the device is to be leveraged for better security. The other issue that plagues platforms such as this is, while we recognize the voyeuristic nature of the platform, and why not? It is about individual independence to represent a facet of their personality. We need to bring to focus, especially for youngsters, the mental health challenge that is creeping in slowly, because we are making more and more of our young, especially young women, image conscious at a very young age. That in the comment sections, anything that is commented on the image becomes a part of an individual's validation process is something that needs to be spoken of. These are the uncomfortable truths. Does that mean that I speak as an administrator who wants to come down heavily? I think that as an administrator, the fact that I can discuss that with a VP at Meta is something which is empowering. Because what is it that the Digital Suraksha Summit is all about? Is it about professing how well we are doing? Or is it about recognizing the dark side that is still not addressed? One would be extremely meaningful if all the tools that have been pronounced on stage are widely circulated, especially in smaller towns, hamlets, rural landscapes, to not only women, men, parent-teacher organizations, schools, academic institutions, so that if you are to leverage the platform, we can do it responsibly. Because responsibility is not such an attractive phrase. And I believe that if you truly want to secure an engagement on a platform, that is where we need to begin with. So if you say that Smriti Irani, till such time she did not have an Instagram presence, was known as a very morbid administrator, I will completely agree with you. I deliberately used Instagram so that people could discover that there is something about my personality that newspapers would not tell you about. So every platform has its own negatives or positives. You service the needs of your customers better when you recognize the negatives and you address them with solutions to secure the environment and the platform better for female use and for the use of children. The challenge is, do we recognize how young the user is getting? Is it only the 16-year-olds and the 18-year-olds? Have we ever considered the 10-year-olds who have access? And everything today in the presentation is about real Instagram accounts. There is an ecosystem called Finstars, which are the fake Instagram accounts, which are designed in such a fashion that if you would like to attack, it's the Insta version of trolling. So how much do we recognize that those are aspects also that need conversations? The fact that somebody, and especially a young one, has the mindset to know that if I want to attack somebody, I can fake an Instagram account. And especially if I want to attack a woman or a female colleague who is a young one at school. And I think those conversations, the more we have it in, like I said, smaller towns, cities, the summit truly will be most successful if we take it out of the national capital and take it to the state capitals, take it to educational institutions, especially the rural segments of our society. Even the aspect of digital literacy from the time that the platform was offered to citizens to today has changed. Has the component of digital literacy then changed? That is the one aspect we need to see. And the components which make digital literacy, is there a differential between what you as a platform deem digital literacy and what administrators term as digital literacy? For instance, you have presented a helpline. If you read the JJ Act, when it comes to child safety, it is the responsibility of the state. In a district, it's the responsibility of a collector and the superintendent of police. The government, in collaboration with all state governments, runs a helpline called 1098, which is the child line. But there is absolutely no symmetry between this helpline and that helpline. Now imagine, given the power of the platform, millions on it, some kid will presume that your helpline is the helpline to call when they're in mortal danger. And that child keeps calling an NGO. And the NGO obviously is not equipped in terms of law and order to give an immediate response. So there is those gaps that still needs to be sewn over. Those are the issues, like I said, that need to get addressed. And that becomes then part of digital literacy. That if you know that academic institutions like schools and parent-teacher organizations have a presence, would you, and you've voluntarily done a lot to address the issue of safety, push the 1098 number to say, call this if you're in mortal danger. Now, why am I saying this? 1098, 3 years ago, was run by NGOs. And we did a study with all the NGOs that were responding. When a child was in mortal danger, by the time the NGO told the police, it was 60 minutes. And that kid, imagine 1 hour in an emergency, you're waiting for somebody to respond. So that is why, if we want to service the needs of child safety with alacrity, we need to work with agencies that have a quick response time. For instance, Antigone had shown this image. If you work with the NCRB, which I believe that you are, that is the agency that addresses these issues with alacrity. But if there are layers between that engagement and the NCRB, one, there is a loss of data, and privacy issues of children and women are important, especially when they are reporting. So in the translation between the platform and the authorities, if you have intermediaries who have access to that data, for us, that's an alarm bell. So can you look at now making a system where you are having access to such a huge amount of data, you are committed to privacy, but the government and agencies in law and order are committed to responding with speed to people in danger. So how can you take away the intermediaries, and between the platform and those who are responsible to respond, how can you bridge that gap is something I'm sure that you can reflect on. Because remember, there is a large segment that presumes everything that they hear on Instagram and Facebook is kosher.
இத்துடன் இன்றைய செய்திக் கதம்பம் நிறைவு பெறுகிறது.